The story of the Yuba County Five is one of the most haunting mysteries in American true crime. A case that leaves experts, families, and armchair detectives alike questioning how 5 young men could vanish under such baffling circumstances. On a quiet evening in February 1978, 5 friends, Jack Madruga, Ted Weiher, Bill Sterling, Jack Hoot, and Gary Mathias, attended a college basketball game in Chico, California. They were ordinary men with ordinary lives, yet the choices they made that night would lead to one of the most puzzling disappearances in U.S. history. What happened to them after leaving the game is a story that defies logic, one that mixes isolation, survival, and tragedy into a chilling puzzle. After the game, the men set off for Yuba City in a small 2-door Ford Pinto. The route they chose was already treacherous, winding through the Sierra Nevada mountains in winter. Within hours, the car was discovered abandoned in a remote, snow-covered area near Plumas National Forest. The vehicle's doors were locked, the keys were missing, and the interior showed no sign of struggle. It was as if the men had simply vanished into the surrounding wilderness, leaving behind only questions and a trail that would grow colder with each passing day. Local authorities and volunteers launched a massive search, scouring miles of snow and forest. But despite the frantic efforts, there was no trace of the 5 men for months. The timeline of events following the car's discovery only deepens the mystery. According to investigators, it is believed the men tried to find help after their car became immobilized by the snow. Footprints were eventually found, showing signs that they walked through the forest, but the paths they took seemed random and irrational. Some of the men were reportedly in good physical condition, capable of traversing difficult terrain, yet the decisions they made suggested panic, confusion, or disorientation. Theories abound. Some speculate hypothermia-induced delirium. Others suggest they simply underestimated the harshness of the environment. Yet nothing can fully explain why men with familiarity of the area would make choices that ultimately led to their deaths. Months later, their bodies were discovered in various locations around the forest, each discovery adding layers of strangeness to the story. Gary Mathias' body was found at the bottom of a steep slope, partially buried in snow, showing clear signs of prolonged exposure to the elements. Jack Madruga's remains were located in a different part of the forest, appearing to have succumbed to dehydration. Perhaps most perplexing were the circumstances of Ted Weiher and Bill Sterling, whose bodies were discovered near the burned-out remains of the Pinto, in a manner suggesting they had attempted to survive as long as possible but ultimately failed. Autopsy reports, however, raised more questions than answers. Some details about the timing and causes of death were inconsistent, leaving even experienced medical examiners puzzled. Even small personal items found near their bodies hinted at attempts to make shelter or signal for help, yet these efforts were tragically insufficient. Survival evidence, in particular, points to the men having done everything possible to stay alive, yet their choices consistently defied reason. Footprints indicate that some of the men repeatedly returned to the area near the car, while others wandered in different directions without leaving any signs of sustenance attempts, aside from rudimentary sheltering. Makeshift campfires were discovered, though many were extinguished or poorly constructed, suggesting both resourcefulness and desperation. Investigators have long wondered how men who presumably understood the dangers of winter survival could make decisions so incongruent with self-preservation. This tension between logic and instinct is what makes the case so compelling and, frankly, heartbreaking. Conflicting reports from authorities further cloud the story. Some documents suggest 1 or 2 men may have survived longer than officially recorded, while others indicate all 5 perished quickly. Witnesses who came across the search area months after the disappearance described odd anomalies. Footprints that seemed to vanish into thin air, personal belongings that appeared untouched, and even hearsay of faint cries carried on the wind. These inconsistencies have fueled endless debate among amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike. Was there foul play? Did the men suffer from sudden cognitive impairment? Or did a combination of extreme weather, exhaustion, and fear create a perfect storm that simply overwhelmed them? The psychological aspect of the Yuba County 5 case cannot be ignored. The men's youth and inexperience in surviving alone in severe winter conditions may have played a crucial role, but the exact reasoning behind their movements remains elusive. Experts studying hypothermia and disorientation note that even physically fit individuals can make irrational choices when faced with severe cold, snow blindness, and mental fatigue. The group dynamic may have also contributed. Decisions made under stress can amplify poor judgment, as fear and uncertainty override rational thinking. Every step they took, every deviation from safety, seemed to compound the tragedy rather than mitigate it. Even small, seemingly inconsequential choices, taking one trail over another, resting briefly in a dangerous location, or trying to build an imperfect shelter, might have determined life or death. Even decades later, the case resonates because it taps into a primal fear, the vulnerability of ordinary people against the relentless forces of nature. 5 lives, full of potential, ended not in violence or criminal conspiracy, but through a combination of poor decisions and environmental extremity. This case reminds us that survival is not just about strength or skill, it is about decision-making under pressure. And even the smallest error can carry catastrophic consequences. The Yuba County 5 are remembered not only as victims but as a cautionary tale, a stark example of how quickly normalcy can spiral into disaster. In examining the timeline, the survival attempts, and the conflicting autopsy reports, one cannot help but feel both fascination and sorrow. Every detail, from the abandoned car to the mysterious footprints, tells a story of human frailty, resilience, and, ultimately, the limits of comprehension. The case endures in public consciousness because it is not neat or tidy, it is messy, tragic, and inexplicably strange. The Yuba County 5 may never return answers that satisfy our logical minds. But the mystery continues to provoke discussion, investigation, and reflection on what we might do in similarly dire circumstances. The disappearance of the Yuba County 5 is powerful not just because of the mystery surrounding it, but because it forces us to confront our own assumptions about safety, intelligence, and survival. It challenges us to question how ordinary decisions can lead to extraordinary consequences, and why even the simplest journey can turn into a nightmare. In the end, the case remains a chilling reminder that sometimes, the most terrifying threats are not malevolent forces, but the combination of nature, human error, and the unknown. It is a story that will continue to haunt, to puzzle, and to teach, as long as people remember the 5 men who set out on a short drive and never returned. As you sit back and let these mysteries sink in, remember, not everything you see or hear can be explained. Some events leave questions that even science struggles to answer. And perhaps, that's what makes the unknown so captivating. The stories we uncover may seem strange, unbelievable, or even impossible, but somewhere, in the shadows of our world, they linger. They wait for someone curious enough to notice, to question, and to seek the truth. Could it be that the line between reality and the unexplained is thinner than we imagine? Only time, observation, and a keen mind will tell. If this journey into the unknown left you with chills, goosebumps, or even more questions than answers, you're not alone. Many who dare to explore these mysteries find themselves wondering, what else is out there, just beyond the edge of understanding? And while the world continues to hide its secrets, you can stay one step ahead. By subscribing to Echo's Evidence, you'll never miss another encounter with the unexplained. Hit the bell icon, so the next mystery comes straight to you, no delays, no excuses. Join a growing community of curious minds, who, like you, are drawn to the strange, the eerie, and the unexplainable. Remember, every video you watch here is more than a story, it's a doorway. A doorway to knowledge, to fear, to fascination, and sometimes, to answers we didn't know we were looking for. And just when you think you've seen it all, the shadows may shift, the quiet may whisper, and something familiar might not be what it seems. Keep your senses alert, because the next strange occurrence, the next unexplainable phenomenon, could be closer than you think. So, before you leave, take a moment, reflect on what you've just seen. Share your thoughts, your theories, or your own mysterious experiences in the comments. Let's see how deep the rabbit hole really goes together. And as always, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your curiosity alive. Because in a world full of echoes and evidence, the next mystery is always waiting.